12 o'clock hour. 2 hours down, 2 to go. Capture the flag, says 916. Talking about Cooper Flagg, a.k.a. the main event. That very, very highly ranked prospect that is at Duke right now. 916 says, capture the flag. I hope we lose out and tank completely. This is a garbage bleep team and franchise from the 916.
Capture the flag is an ideal name because I feel like no matter what team Cooper Flagg ends up on, it feels like he's going to be captured and sent to the outlands of the NBA for 6 years.
Yeah.
Whether it's Utah, Toronto.
Unless he ends up on the Spurs.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The Spurs are good.
Yeah, unless he ends up on the Spurs or he ends up on a team that just things didn't go right for them.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, could be the Sixers, could be someone like that. So, yeah, definitely a lot of things can happen, but I don't think that's where we're at, 916. At least that's not where we should be at. Not yet. Can't be there yet, but I understand why some people might think, well, what are we doing, right? If you're not good enough, and it doesn't seem like they're good enough right now, what are we doing? I had this, and I know somebody is going to chime in at the worst time and try to blame me for bringing this team up, but this is what someone had to say. Basically, they're talking about the Kings and whether or not Mike Brown has lost the locker room. They go on to say, meanwhile, across the bay, I see a team rediscover themselves overnight. They're fun to watch. The offense is flowing. They listen to the coach, and I hate the Warriors. That is from the 916. As they discuss kind of the Mike Brown piece of this, we've played plenty of Mike Brown sound today, and we will continue to do so. I don't think the Kings have – I think Mike Brown is a player's coach. I think that's kind of his bag, and I don't think the locker room has been lost. I do find that there is a lot of onus put on the team, and this isn't a young team, so I get that. You add DeMar DeRozan. De'Aaron Fox has been in the league for 8 years. Domantas Sabonis has been around the block. So I do feel like there is a balance between, and I talked about this last season, when a lot of answers from Mike Brown turn into, well, that's on the guys, and we give them a lot of freedom. When the games start going in the wrong direction, then it turns into, okay, well, how are you planning on helping the situation? Because clearly they need some form of help. Clearly they're not just sitting there and able to figure out things on their own. And I'm saying this in a nice way, but, to go office space here, what exactly is it that you do here? And I am not saying that. I'm saying that when you hear Mike Brown say, well, we give the guys a lot of freedom and, we go out and we practice. This is what he said when he started off the presser. Look, we have sets that we get into at the beginning of the game. And we do walkthroughs. We get into the game, and then as soon as that happens, they do not execute the plays that we just had the walkthrough in our shoot around or whatever prior to the game. So you can look at that and say, well, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. They got to execute. Or you can look at that and say, well, why aren't they executing? This is what happens when you drop 3 straight. Uncomfortable conversations have to be had. Then you hear from Mike Brown and he says, well, our intensity isn't there. Our physicality isn't there. And then you say, okay, well, how do you get there? And again, I'm not saying it's on Mike Brown, but I'm saying, okay, well, if it's on the team, then how does the team get there? Do they just wake up one day and become more physical? Who is it on? I don't actually know. What I do know is that it gets very dicey and sticky when it's a lot of we're giving them the tools, because this is what we heard a lot last season. We're giving them the tools, and they're not executing with the tools we're giving them. We are giving them the ingredients to make a meal, and they're not cooking the meal correctly. They're not following the recipe. They're not doing it. So that's what we dealt with a lot of that was last season. But at some point, the owner of the restaurant, if there's not butts in the seats, at some point the owner of the restaurant can say, I don't know if your recipe is very good, or I don't know if it's too complicated, or I don't know what the issue is, but you keep telling me that the ingredients in the recipe is there, but the chefs, the line cooks aren't cooking. So I have to look at you, head chef. I have no choice. And that's where this thing is going to go, not because there's anything against Mike Brown, but that's just the way of the world. So the way that these post-game pressers and the way things get approached, and it just turns into, well, we have to be better and we have to do this. So Mike Brown's saying that, the team is saying that, everybody's saying that. How do you get there? How do you stop talking about it and do it? Because you've been talking about it for over a season now. Being teamed, I mean, that's 2 years ago now. Lots happened. Lot's happened.
What a great season it
was. It was.
I mean, the Warriors had like 4 of the same players that were on the team that knocked the Kings out of the playoffs at this point.
And now, I don't know and it's not even, I don't even know if the Warriors are going to continue to play at this clip, but you have teams that have last season you went in, you beat the brakes off the Warriors. You then I know that team's gone, but you lost to the Pelicans with no Zion for the 6th straight time. Then you say, oh, Harrison Barnes is the scapegoat. He wears a nice suit, but he's a dull Swiss Army knife. Bye, Harrison. Let's bring in DeMar DeRozan. And now you're 8-9. So that's going to be a problem for people.
It's also been a weird way to get to 8-9 too.
Against not great teams, soft teams. Yeah, again, and we're going to try to turn this thing. I guarantee, I promise you, end of the show, we are going to focus on if you beat the Thunder and you beat the Timberwolves, that's a great week, and we can just power through, eat some turkey, eat some ham, eat some stuffing, and start to ascend.
And then you've got the Blazers and the Spurs.
And they might worry me the most.
Now you're sounding like 2024 Kings again.
True.
Now you're sounding like last year's team again.
But you gotta win. You gotta win tonight. You have to. And I'm really close. I'm struggling, Kyle, and we'll get there. But I'm struggling between the make it a close game, whatever. And then I'm thinking, hold on now. We're talking about DeMar DeRozan, future Hall of Famer. And we're talking about De'Aaron Fox, who wants to be in the same conversations with SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and wants to be All-NBA, which I believe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was last season. That you're coming for a guy who's younger than you, who is universally seen as better than you. And I'm going to sit here on these airwaves while the good people of Sacramento are getting through their workday and say I'm good with the moral victory. No, I can't do that. I refuse to do that. So it's not anyone else's fault that you tricked off a game to the Nets. We can give you the Hawks because you didn't have their guys. You should have won that game anyway, though. And you tricked off a game to the Clippers, which had one of the most embarrassing first halves in probably the Mike Brown era.
Yeah, the Nets game, they had a chance to win it at the end. The Hawks game, they had a chance to win it at the end, sure. But the Clippers game, they just got smoked out the building.
Yeah.
Smoked out the building.
It just was a bad look. So I can't sit there and watch what I just watched these last couple games and then say, all right, well, just give us a good try. That's not championship basketball. Because if I'm going to do that, then DeMar DeRozan was just here for Golden One to play a bunch of Kendrick and for the Sacramento Kings social team to post Kendrick memes. We're not here for championships. So I refuse to do that. You have to win tonight. And if you lose again to the Timberwolves, you're 0-3. Now you're headed to Pelican View. Okay, to Pelican Town.
Pelican Bay.
Pelican Bay. Thank you, Kyle.
That's the joke you were going for.
And that's why you landed it. So to me, I don't care that you lost. This is where you figure out what you're made of. Find a way. They don't even have the Thunder don't even have Chet Holmgren. So they're not even 100%. So you have to find a way. You got to find a way. And if you don't, I'm going to be on these airwaves tomorrow. And something might get shaken up. I'm not saying this week, but I'm saying if you're going to make a move, you have to give everybody enough time.
So you're getting close to giving up on this core of the team, is what you're saying, this iteration.
I know that DeMar DeRozan isn't going anywhere. De'Aaron Fox isn't going anywhere, and I don't think Domantas Sabonis is going anywhere. That's all I know.
Well, Malik Monk can't go anywhere.
And Malik Monk. I was thinking starters.
Not till December 15th.
Malik's not going anywhere. So those 4. But the rest, you have a bad week. You let this thing get to 4 losses, 4 in a row, and the only one that's respectable is tonight. But unfortunately, that's the 4th one.
The Clippers would have been a respectable loss if they had been like in the game, not down 26.
No, but they weren't, Kyle.
That's what I'm saying.
They weren't.
Tonight would be the only respectable loss. Remember when we were talking about the block of 5 games upcoming? They had
Remember when I said they were going to go
4-1?
They were going to go. What did I say? 8-2.
Yeah.
What are they since I said that? 0-3. I believe they are 0-3 since I said there's no reason the Kings can't go 8-2.
Last week when we had that long breakup and we were talking about 5-game chunks, it was Clippers, Nets, Thunder, Timberwolves, and Blazers. And it was like, look at this even split. You've got 1 great team, 2 kind of average teams, 2 below average teams, and now they're just trying to scrape together 3-2, maybe 2-3, but they're not favored to win tonight, and I would guess they would be favored on the road not favored on the road against Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't think they will be, but we'll get to that line on the Thunder as Shai Gilgeous and the crew come in to do battle with the Sacramento Kings. Let's continue the conversation talking about bench scoring and the offense disappearing. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
All guests come to you from the